Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Sensation Nation. Every week I say the same thing, and every week I mean it. Brand new topic, brand new guest, and they're both going to be great. And I'm super excited about the topic. I'm super excited about the guest. As you can see, we've got some family, additional extended family that's going to be joining us as well, which makes this even more real, which is why I love it. So today's topic is a topic that is going to be called the success of aiming high. You hear about aim high in the Air Force a lot, and we talk about just trying to achieve goals and shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, all that other good stuff. The interesting part about this topic about aim high is I am not having an Air Force person per se come on and talk to me about the success of aiming high. In fact, I'm having an Army soldier come on and talk about aiming high. Why on earth, you're probably asking, would I have a soldier come on and talk to me about aiming high? Well, it's because three reasons. Number one, this soldier, who is an officer in the United States Army, is also a former airman. He used to be enlisted in the United States Air Force. So who else can talk about the Air Force other than a former airman? Number two, he is also an Apache helicopter pilot, which means he goes high all the time. So if anybody knows about aiming high and going high, it's him. And number three is because he actually aims high in life. So for that reason, those three reasons, I thought it was extremely important to bring on this individual who I think is the perfect person to help me talk about the success of aiming high. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce to you Matthew Manning. He goes by Manning, ladies and gentlemen, born right here and raised right here in Washington, D.C. 3 kids, Major, Amira, and Maverick, which I think the last name is actually kind of ironic when you think about the movie Top Gun, and we were talking about aiming high, all the other good stuff. His wife's name is Priya, who also is from here in D.C. They've been married 2 years and together 4 years. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, he goes by Manning. Manning, welcome to the show.
Hey, sir, I appreciate it. That introduction, you got me ready to run through a wall, sir. So it was speaking of wall, for whatever reason, currently stationed in the Pentagon, right? I'll give a little bit background information, but joined the military in 2006, originally in the Air Force, made it up to tech sergeant, and then, things happen along my way. I started out working on the A-10s and went over, became a red cap, so combat arms, and kind of shot my way through the ranks early. And I remember one day working on the aircraft, and the pilot hopped out. I'm not going to say, race, ethnicity, none of that matters. The pilot hops out. And I remember telling that pilot, I said, I want to be a pilot. And he kind of looked me up and down. He was like, well, you don't look like a pilot. I was like, interesting, right? In the back of my mind. And I didn't know at that time what he necessarily meant by that, but it kind of it lit a fire under me. And so I'm a type of person that you can't tell me what I can't accomplish. That's the way to motivate me the most, is to tell me I can't do something. There's always a way. You got to find a way, and we're going to talk about that as we get into aim high. But so that was me. And then I transferred over, did green to gold in 2013, made my way over to the Army. I went kind of the backwards way, which you went the right way. You told everybody, right? Former Marine, went to the Air Force, which is the right way. But I made that transition over 2013 to the Army, and in 2015 I commissioned. And even then, I was told that, hey, aviation ain't going to be in your deck of cards. It's not going to be something that you can accomplish and do. But commissioned as an aviator in 2015, went down to Alabama, Fort Noblesville for flight training. Then from there, transitioned over to Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, Georgia. Deployed, did a lot of things, a lot of small kind of rotations all over the place. Ended up going back to Fort Noblesville for Captain's Career Course, and then transitioning back to Hawaii, where I took command of Bravo Troop, which is actually right here, the Apache door, Delta Troop 26 Cavalry. So I'm a very big Air Cavalry Squadron, wearing the Stetsons. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. I'm very big on that. And then made my way here, where I got to meet you. a leader, an inspiring individual. And I know we got a lot to talk about, sir, but I just got to tell everybody how this came about. When I first went into the building, which for a lot of military people, you won't make their way into that building. So for me to be there as a captain, you heard the kind of the horror stories, and everybody's like, yo, it's going to consume you. So many high leaders. The amount of GOs and the amount of experience and knowledge that it's in that building is phenomenal. But everywhere I go, I've always kind of been the only one in the organization. And it's just kind of ingrained into who I am. And I think, minority aviators alike, we're always like, will I be the only one? Is there another one? And of course, I saw you. And I was just like, interesting. And I originally wanted to work in one of the front offices that, did not really come to fruition. I landed in the J5, so strategy, plans and policy division. And of course, every kind of JADER has their front office. And, the front office, I think, is the creme de la creme. It is the pinnacle, and it is the most finest officers that we have to offer. And of course, lo and behold, there was you. And it didn't matter, Air Force and Army. I was just like, I was proud, that there was another minority leader at that echelon that is having impact, and getting things done at a high level. And so I reached out to another aviator, a former aviator that works in your office, and he mentored me, kind of showed me again the importance of cross-cultural mentorship. Talked to another aviator in your office, and then they tied us together. And actually yesterday, you said, hey, let's just take a 15-minute coffee break, and I'm like, awesome. I get my book. I'm ready to go meet you. I'm just making sure I got all my notes. I'm ready to have a conversation. And the moment I met you in the hallway, it just was an immediate connection. We were able to share stories, realizing that we have a lot in common. And it kind of brought us to this point. And so I thank God for bringing us together and connecting, because this highlights the importance of mentorship. This highlights the importance of this platform that you have, sir. And I'm just forever indebted to you for your leadership. And I thank you for paving the way. But with that, that's Captain Manning in a nutshell. You gave him all the wife stuff and the kids. Those are my reasons why. My understanding of why is my family first and foremost. And outside of that, I'm just a leader trying to continue to bridge the diversity gap in Army aviation, trying to make an impact in every person. And success for me is, who can I get into the room next? Success is the next person up. And if I can do that, then I am successful. It used to be tied to, making, full bird colonel or having this position, but I'm learning success is just what you're making. And for me, it's all about just empowering the next generation, sir.
Man, that's solid, man. We can almost end the podcast right there. That's good stuff. Let me tell you, I self-proclaimed, I feel like I have a high level of emotional intelligence, and my sensors are always up, and my radar is always up, and I could just tell somebody man, that's a good person right there, and I can figure it out. As you mentioned, the moment we met in the hallway, it was instantaneous. The only thing, because we immediately realized we have a whole lot in common, but I almost went back into my office and said, you know what, disregard, we don't need to meet, because he talked about some team called Alabama, and I was about to be like, nah, we're not going to. So listen, man, I appreciate you telling us a little bit about your history and your background. One of the things that just really stood out for me, that as I listened to you talk, was the comment that was made, whether harmless or not, was, well, you don't really look like a pilot, right? Well, in my brain is going, well, what does a pilot look like? What did he mean? What does he mean by that? What is he supposed to look like? All the other good stuff. Doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, right now, you are a pilot, right? And for those that are not military that may be listening or watching, and they're wondering, what's an Apache? Well, an Apache is a helicopter. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely is. It's the only attack platform in the RV inventory. It is arguably the hardest helicopter in the world to fly. We fly with essentially a monocular over our right eye, which projects and gives us a lot of information. At night, it's known as flying the green monster, because we fly through, the TAS, the Target Acquisition Designator Site, and the PIMBIS. So essentially, it's a big ball on the front of the aircraft that allowed us to see visually. A very difficult aircraft. And I'll be honest with you, I struggled immensely through flight school, learning how to hover. Flight school for me wasn't as pleasant as it is for some people. I went through a divorce at the time. My ex-wife was stationed downrange, and I had a 3-year-old son. And I was waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, taking him to daycare, picking him straight up. It was hard, but it was success by village. It was the people to my left and to my right that were enabling me, giving me moments of break when I needed it to make sure that I was still accomplishing the things that I needed to accomplish. And I just could not hover that aircraft in the beginning. It beat me down. I eventually figured it out, and going back to the importance of cross-cultural, mentorship, it was a non-minority that put me inside the aircraft. And, she was like, this is how you hover this aircraft. And I was like, nope, can't do it. And I immediately tried to do it and completely failed. She was like, stay here. And I was 50 feet off of where I needed to be. And she was like, listen, I just want you to be on the controls with me. So I'm on the controls with her, chair flying, ghost flying. And she starts talking to me about major. And before I know it, we've been hovering for about 30 to 45 minutes. And I was standing, and she took her hands off the control. And she was like, so you know how to do this? She was like, your mind is your biggest enemy at times. Your mind can distract you from almost accomplishing the task, which is very simple. But we sometimes get ahead of ourselves and are our biggest critics and are our biggest enemies. And so we prevent ourselves from actually accomplishing the success that we're trying to get to. And the moment she said it, I started messing up, but she taught me how to hover the aircraft. And then, the sky's the limit. But that's the Apache H-64 two-person aircraft. We carry different munition systems from the 30 Mike cannon, rockets, Hellfire. And, it is, I would say, big brother when it comes down to protecting our brothers and sisters on the ground. And that was why I wanted to fly the aircraft. When I mentor young kids and I talk to cadets currently in ROTC or flight school students, they always ask, what's the best aircraft? And I always say the best aircraft is whatever aircraft you get.
That's right.
Pick the mission, don't pick the aircraft. And the mission of the H-64 is attack, reconnaissance, and security. And for me, throughout my life journey, I wanted to be the one to protect my brothers and sisters on the ground, regardless of ethnicity, gender. I want you to know that I'm prepared to give my life for you, and I'm going to make sure to do everything that you can. But that is the H-64 platform. So the best aircraft out there.
You know what, man, I love this because I feel and I sense this passion. I sense that passion, and I love it when I see people doing things that they're passionate about. I think it's a beautiful thing. And, again, I'm always listening intently. And what I heard you say was, number one, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I heard you say that the person that really got you to where you needed to be with regard to aiming high and actually hovering the way you needed to be hovering was a person that did not look like you. In fact, they were a different gender than you and a different race than you, which I think is something that we needed to highlight here. And then secondly, what I heard you say was that aircraft, when you chose your mission, not your aircraft, you like to protect your brothers and sisters on the ground, which is huge. And I think that can be applied to day-to-day things. So as the young people, old people, not so old people are listening and watching right now, and you want to protect those people on the ground who are trying to figure out how to aim as high as they can go, tell these people, what does it mean to you when I ask you, what does it mean to aim high?
Aim high was something. So my firstborn major, I grew up kind of rough. Little backstory on it. My mom was kind of absent in the beginning. My dad was president. But it was my grandmother that raised me in South Carolina, McCall, South Carolina, from the time that I could, barely breathe. Days, years old, went down to South Carolina. And I lost her when I was actually in tech school in the Air Force. And before she died, she says, hey, listen, aim for the stars. If you miss, you're still in the sky. Point blank, period. And so that for me resonated with me. And so going back to branching, when, my professor of military science said, you wouldn't get aviation, you're not that competitive. Okay. I said that I'm going to aim for the stars if I miss it in the sky. So I put aviation number one. So when we talk aiming high, dream big. If your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough. If you're not aiming for the pinnacle, you're not aiming high enough. So I will always tell anybody out there to aim for the stars, if you miss, you're in the sky. You will never know. The problem in aviation right now, the reason why we have a big diversity gap is we have minorities, that being race and gender, sir, are self-eliminating or removing themselves because they think that they're not competitive enough. They think that they're not good enough. They're being told that they can't achieve it. Then they don't see representation. So they're like, how come I don't see any African American, or how come I don't see any lady aviators? If I don't see it, then I'm not going to do it. But I would tell people that if you're going to aim high and you're going to, dream big, then go be the representation that you seek. That is the opportunity that itself, that if it ain't been done, go be the one to do it. And that's what it means for me, is to aim high, is to dream big. Your dream should scare you a little bit, but you just got to go out there and challenge yourself. I think failure only comes when you quit.
Oh, I like that.
You can give yourself opportunities, and I like to quantify essentially failures are just additional opportunities for you to learn and be able to go back and say, I can improve this. I can make myself better. And then I can try it again. And you fail again, guess what? You get to go back now and you get to dissect yourself and you say, you know what? I can make myself better in this aspect. When you challenge yourself, you are adding resiliency. You're adding toughness, mental and physical. And you're just adding layers to yourself that when you face obstacles later on down the road, that you're built, you're equipped. It's God ain't gonna put you through anything you can't handle, but He can't put you through it if you ain't gonna give yourself an opportunity or a shot.
Give yourself a shot. Give yourself a shot. What I hear you saying as well is that it's very difficult to be what you can't see. Right. It's difficult to be what you can't see. And, I love my quotes, as everybody knows, and hopefully I get this right and hopefully it's the right person. But I think it was Michelangelo who said our biggest fear or failure should not be the fact that we aim so high and miss, but that we aim really low and we actually hit. On that note, what does it mean to you when someone says aiming low? What does it mean when you hear aim low?
When I hear that, and this is just me, I take that as a sign of disrespect. When I hear, you're dreaming too big, I hear that you don't understand what I've been through in my life. You are discounting my toughness. You're discounting my education. You're discounting what I've been through. You're discounting my ability to accomplish something better. And we talk to cadets about that. There's cadets that are going to commission, become lieutenants, and they become officers and so on and so forth. And they're like, I just want to be an officer. That's all I want to do is get my foot in the door. That's it. Well, what do you want to do when you get on the other side? And it has to be more than just get my foot in the door. That right there is where I get a little fired up. And that's, because I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about serving. So when I hear soldiers that say, I just want to, do my 4 years and then get out, I think you're not dreaming big enough. Right. But in order for us to understand why, we gotta have that relationship and that conversation, because sometimes that there's things that are preventing a person from thinking that they can accomplish things. Right. And that's where I think leadership and mentorship comes into play to help, pull that out of our mentees and our subordinates and our peers alike, to help them understand that, hey, man, you can do this. You can accomplish this. So when I hear aim low, for me, it's a sign of motivation. Right. Because you're telling me that you think that I can't do anything more except for surface level. We can be more than just, it was something that said to LeBron James, and I hope this isn't our top. He said, shut up and dribble. That's what resonates with me. Is I have to just do that. I'm not able to do other things. I have to just do this one specific task because I'm not qualified to do more than just dribble a basketball. I've proven my capabilities. And so when I walk into the building, and I love this question, is I tell myself, I can be more than just a fellow. I can be more than just an intern. I can be more than just a captain in the building. If you think yourself that. But if you just go in there and say, I made my way into the Pentagon, I'm already there, this is success, you didn't dream big enough. The Pentagon could just be another stepping stone for where God wants me to go at the end of the day. But if I go there with that mentality that I've already made it because I'm here, I'm selling myself short. So don't sell yourself short.
Don't sell yourself short. You can't do it. You got who else is going to believe in you if you don't, right? We got to be multi-layered, multifaceted. We gotta dream big. Now, I'm gonna throw this question out there to you because I think that we all have been around those big dreamers, right? Because I think right now where I'm about to go is dreams versus realism, right? And we've all had those friends or family, at least one that is like every time you see them, man, I'm about to go own 5 blocks of houses tomorrow. I already got this plan. It's going to happen. And then you see them about a week later, like, yeah, see what happened was, that kind of thing, right? So as the people are listening right now, right? And they're hearing, don't, aim high, don't sell yourself too low. They're trying to figure out that balance. As with everything in life, there's always a balance, and it kind of brings you into the middle, right? So how does one balance? How does one figure out if they're aiming too high or if they're aiming too low, and you're trying to balance that this is just a big dream or this is actually something realistic that I can achieve? How does one manage that?
Absolutely, sir. So dreams are your goals, aspirations, just sitting there, and realistic is your dreams and your goals now coupled with action, now coupled with your effort to accomplish that dream. We all can dream, but if your input is not matching your desired output, then you are living up here in the dream, right? In order to get to this realistic is I have to make that match. They have to be in congruence. And so I watched my son today as they took this, brutal defeat, right? Back to back, right? Like as a parent, if you go out there and watch your kid get knocked around on the football field, you get a little fired up. And I told him, very honest, like the NFL is not in your deck of cards, right? And then I had to walk it back. I said, the NFL right now is not in your deck of cards at this moment because your input is not matching your desired output. I challenged him a couple of months back, and I said, hey, run a mile every day on the Peloton. And he did it for a couple of days, and then he faded off, and then he stopped. And he goes out there and he plays on a football field, and there's this number 22, huge kid. And I mean, he has a motor. He just keeps going, right? Keeps going. And you talk to his parent. They was like, oh yeah, he works out. He goes and runs. And I'm like, So this kid, right, that you went out there and got dominated by, now is trying to make the NFL almost a realistic opportunity for him, right? It's still a very slim opportunity, but he's doing something at his level that he can actually action. You can only control what you can control. And so for realistic, you have to be putting the work behind it. I think everything is. We look at politics today, and who the candidates are. I bet you going back, they would probably say, "Hey, I never thought that was achievable, or that was possible." All of our candidates were probably back in the day would say, "Hey, I didn't know that was possible." Our current chairman, you think he woke up and was like, "Oh, I have a big dream of being the chairman." What did he do to actually bring that to fruition? And that's my biggest problem with it is a lot of people will have these dreams and aspirations. Okay, but what are you doing to accomplish it? Right. And that's where you have to make your actions match your words, right? They have to be in congruence, right? Make sure that the audio matches the visual, make sure the visual matches the audio. And I would say there's never a dream that's too big. There's never a dream that you can't accomplish. But if you're dreaming, if you're not doing anything to actually bring it to fruition, now you're just in la la land, right? I would say for me as an aviator, going back to even though there were people doubting me, I did what was needed to be done. My PT score was squared away. My GPA was a 3.8 getting the master's. I was doing my part. I was prior Air Force. I studied the SIF a little bit. I did my part, what I can actually control. So that way, when the opportunity came, I was ready to seize it. Right. So if we're dreaming and then it's like, oh, I want to be a pilot. All right. Well, what have you done to become a pilot? It
takes action.
Action. Right. And some of it is you have to be a self-learner. Right. You have to be able to Google, and the internet is a beautiful thing. And that's the difference from because I have the ability now over the last couple of years being tied into the organizational personnel force development team down in Fort Noble. I was appointed to the selection board for aviation for 3 to 4 straight years. I went from you can't be a pilot, you don't look like a pilot, to aviation is not in your card, to you won't fly black Apaches, to flying Apaches, to then commanding, then to now here to, hey, we're going to actually put you on a panel to make sure that there is some fairness and equality as a captain.
Boom.
I dreamed it, right? But then I had to actually make sure I put into action by doing the right thing along the way.
That's solid.
Being a leader of character. So every opportunity that I had at command, am I going to take care of my soldiers? Am I going to fly this aircraft to the T? Am I going to do all the things? And along that way, a lot of people might say, "Oh, it just all the things probably worked out well for you." I failed immensely. I failed 1,000 times. Yeah. I recently heard from another mentor, Lieutenant Colonel Cook, who shares the building with us. He has a failure resume.
Wow.
That I'm going to think about doing for myself. He has a resume built of all of his failures along the way. That's a reminder.
I'm writing that down.
We always highlight the good, right? Oh, here's my resume. Here's how good I am. He has one to show, hey, this is where I said I wasn't good enough.
Oh, man, listen. You tell, matter of fact, when I see whoever, you said Colonel Cook?
Colonel Cook. You just Google his name, and he's going to pop up.
I'm creating one for myself. As you mentioned, like, it's important for people to share, what didn't go so well. Social media makes everything look wonderful. The news makes everything sound horrible. So, it's important for people. And I recall as well, it was a chief, E9 in the Air Force, a friend of mine who was enlisted with me at one point in time. And I remember there was a year I posted something out there when something did not go my way. And he sent me a private message and said, "Thank you for doing that." He said, "It's important for people that are watching you to see sometimes things just don't line up." And I hear you talk about, that dream versus reality. And what I gain from that is, your input has to match your output that you're trying to achieve. You get out what you put into it. You mentioned General C.Q. Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I just verbally heard him say a couple of days ago, he initially was told by his father, 4 years in the military is not going to hurt you. And then he said, here I am 40 years later, right? As you mentioned, he didn't just wake up and say, "Oh, I'm going to be the chairman today." There was a lot of things that he had to go through. And I'm sure there's a failure resume that is probably super long that we don't necessarily see every day. So we have to make sure that we're actually putting in that work to be able to achieve that. So hearing you say that, all the things that you've been able to achieve and you've overcome some of the pushback, if you will, or the lack of motivation or someone trying to derail you, so on and so forth. Everyone has a driving force. Everyone has a driving factor. And, you got someone sitting out in the audience or sitting on the opposite end of this YouTube video or podcast, and they're going, "Man, he did it," right? What is it that makes you tick? What drives you so hard to make you want to aim so high?
Of course, faith. God is my my navigation system. And when I feel myself, kind of flying through turbulent times, it's probably because I've gotten away from my faith. And so, I get back into track with that. Number two is my family. My wife and, our marriage was not always perfect. We've had our trials and tribulations, just like every marriage. And it honestly was the low points that allowed us to reach and accomplish such stature to where we are to now we're actually almost mentoring other marriages, that are older than us. It's like, man, they want to learn from us. We're doing something right. And so we pride ourselves on that. And of course, my kids. But sir, I think to get down to something that just always in the back of my mind, and it's on my wall here, and it's on my Apache Aviator over there. But the Tuskegee Airmen, when you look at what they went through back in 1941 and 1942, I can't even fathom some of the things that they've experienced. So to go through what they went through, for us to have the opportunities that we have today and to not accomplish it and to not keep that going, that's enough for me. It's because I have to keep that going. And I'm just a man of one. But how do we continue to inspire the generation? And I think that we do that through the very platform that we are having this discussion on, is having transparent dialogue. inspiring and being the representation that we seek and encouraging the next generation to say, hey, you can accomplish this. So every time that we do something, it's, hey, we got to show it, and there's a fine balance. I found myself and people be like, hey, why are you always posting that on social media? Is what's the reason for it? It ain't for me anymore. It used to be. It's for the next generation, that they can go out there and they can just scroll and they say, oh, snap. It's like we talked about on the YouTube and things like that. It's like, oh, there's somebody doing it and doing it at a high level and trying to inspire and trying to encourage. That is what keeps me going. I have probably had, and I save it. Anytime somebody emails me and it's like, hey, I saw your YouTube video. I screenshot it. I send it to my wife and I said, let's get back in the saddle. Right. And then that just motivates me. Every time that I go to a college, right now, I kind of guest speak at all the colleges around the country. I kind of target HBCUs, but we're kind of broadening that over the last couple of years because, PWIs deserve the same amount of mentorship and leadership and need to see that representation as well. And every time I go, there's always 5 to 6 cadets that are like, hey, sir, I didn't know aviation was the thing. Well, this is why. Right.
Exactly.
And so we have to educate them, right? And we learn in the policy realm that, sometimes absence of that information, when you don't honestly have access to know that that's achievable and you don't know, right? Removing those administrative burdens is what we're trying to do essentially in these types of conversations, in these types of engagement. Right. I'm removing that administrative burden. You can't say that you don't know anymore. You can't say you don't know the process to become a pilot anymore. You can't say that I didn't see representation no more. I'm going to take that away.
That's right.
And the hard part, sir, is when I take that away, I have to put that in my backpack and I got to carry that load and it gets heavy. And I'll be honest, I've had some days where that burden gets real heavy. And at times I feel like the more I kind of inspire and try to motivate, the bigger that target gets back. That I'm like, Because what I've learned is not everybody that's cheering for you really wants to see you win.
Facts.
Right? Not everybody that looks like you wants to see you win and victorious.
Facts.
My biggest advocates are all non-minorities. The reason why I was appointed to that board was Major General, I'm sorry, not Major General, I apologize, sir, don't beat me up. Lieutenant General Dave Francis was now a deputy down at Fort Eustis with General Brito. And just so many more leaders that have just said, hey, we get you and we understand you. Do you know how powerful that is, sir? When somebody that
super powerful
doesn't look like you, but comes to you and say, I get you.
Yeah.
Go where you trying to go. Let me help you.
I love it.
If anybody took anything away from anything I say today is understand that leadership, mentorship, to make a difference in this world, got to come together as one.
That's right. As they say, your network is your net worth. And
absolutely.
I've had a boss tell me, at some point in time, I was riding with him. He did not look like me either, and we were traveling all over the place. And everywhere he went, it was just almost like he was like a military rock star. And I mean, it was a point in time I felt like a blocker, and he was a running back going to conferences. I'm like, no, yeah, boom, boom, trying to keep people off. And we got in the car, and I was just like, man, sir, everybody knows you. And he said, one day, everybody's going to know you too. What he meant by that was everybody that he knew, he made sure that I knew. And he let me be that person to connect with that network long after he hangs up that uniform. And he hung up that uniform. And some of those connections that he made on his way out the door, they're still in existence. And it helped me be able to, hit some of the marks that I was trying to hit. So with that, we're talking about hitting marks, missing marks, so on and so forth. Has there ever been a time where you felt like you might have aimed too low and actually hit your mark?
So I think it would go back to the process of coming to the building. I originally wanted to be a USMA tech. Sometimes God works in mysterious ways, and he's going to put you where he wants you to be. But you have to be, receptive to that. Faith without work is dead, as I like to say sometimes. But I originally applied to West USMA. Not that USMA is not competitive, but but it is a little bit of easier than say the Joint Chief of Staff or the congressional. And I didn't know what I wanted to do after command. I was just like, I guess I'll just kind of go and teach. That's my comfort zone. I like to mentor. So let me go to USMA. You should do Joint Chief of Staff, Matt. Sir, I don't know nothing about politics. I don't know. Let me just go and mentor. Nope, Matt, I think you should go. Colonel Bryant, my former brigade commander, was like, Matt, I think you should put in for it. And I was like, I don't know, but we'll see. So I got picked up from USMA. My wife was now out in Hawaii, originally from here.
And Matt, what's USMA again?
United States Military Academy.
Gotcha.
West Point.
West Point.
So my wife came out to Hawaii, and she was like, hey, could we get stationed back at home? And I was like, I don't know if that's possible. Like Joint Chief of Staff is a job there. Congressional is a job there. And she said, okay, well, do you think you could get it? And I was like, I don't know. The only fellowship is the General Omar Bradley Fellowship, the first chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. And they picked essentially the top 20 captains. And I was like, man, it's I don't know. I'm already picked up a USMA. Let's just stick with that, And we put in for it. And sure enough, I was selected for it. And so I found myself, again, going back to that, why did I doubt myself? I went right back. I did exactly what I tried to preach to cadets: don't self-eliminate. And here I was self-eliminating for something that was already there, and that's where I think my biggest one was, I would say, aiming too low was not that, again, USMA is low, but I could have aimed a little bit higher.
There you go.
Truly believe that this was something that I could accomplish and do. And now here I am, after finishing a year at Georgetown. And that in itself is crazy, sir. So the General Bradley Fellowship is a 3-year fellowship. First year is at Georgetown University in DC. And then you do a year on the Joint Chief of Staff, and then you do a year on the Army staff before transitioning back to the force. Rewind back to 2004, 2005. I was playing football at DeMatha Catholic High School here in the Maryland area, and I was getting looks from Georgetown University. And I was like, you know what? That's a solid school. And again, it was like, hey, it'd be a nice dream, right? Borderline Ivy League school. Is it realistic? What's your GPA? 2.1? Come on, man. It's not your input is not matching your desired outcome. You're not going to be able to accomplish it, no matter how good you are at athletics. And didn't have the grades to do it. But in that failure was another opportunity, which I then decided to go into the Air Force, and that kind of opened the door and showed me where I should be. And then to go into the Army, get into the Joint Chief of Staff, and then in May of this year, graduate from Georgetown University with a master's of policy management degree.
That's solid.
What God has for you is going to be for you. It's never denied. It's just might be delayed, but never denied.
Never denied. I appreciate you for also kind of explaining what the Omar Bradley Fellowship is as well, because I just learned something. I didn't know the depths of that, and I intended to ask you to kind of unpack that a little bit, and I'm glad you did. So I hear you say a year at Georgetown, a year on the Joint Staff, a year on the Army staff, and then back to the regular force, right?
Yes,
top 20 captains. Listen, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. If you think about it, we're talking about the top 20 captains, right? And again, I would imagine that wasn't something that you woke up and said, I'm going to be an Omar Bradley Fellow one of these days,
Right.
And so ultimately, you kind of help us with the, aiming too low and hitting the mark. Have you ever aimed too high and missed the mark? And if so, what did you do next?
I think I did. And it came down to last year, about 2 years ago. I set my sights on, after completing command, promotion list came out. I was up for below the zone. And I thought I had the paper to get this. And I was like, hey, I want to be a below the zone merit base. I want it. Right. And a lot of leaders will tell you to don't talk about that. And that's true. Right. But for me, it's like, if it's something that I can do, why not aim for? Right. That's silly not to. Like, do your job. Of course, don't let that be your focus for taking care of soldiers, like, oh, I just want to get promoted, BZ, but do well, and then that would be an option. And so I went into the board thinking that, hey, I think I got it. And I think an HRC was like, I think you got it too. Didn't have it. And it punched me in the stomach. And I was like, wow, it left a bad taste in my mouth, sir. Followed up right back. It was then I was put in for the General McDouglas Leadership Award, the GDMLA. Essentially, they pick, I believe, 18 captains and warrant officers that have kind of shown the leadership. And I was, I made it up to the core level, and it went about 2 months and I hadn't heard the results. And my buddy kept telling me, I think you got it. Like, come on, man, all the things you do in the community, all the mentorship stuff, like, you got it. Like, I know you got it. Didn't get it. And then I was like, man, what? That one punched me in the stomach. And I was just like, man, and I had so many people reach out. I was like, hey, man, I don't know what they're looking for. I thought you would have been a solid. And I never kind of look at awards. You never really focus on that, right? But when your name gets put in the house, I'm a competitive person. You want to win. And I felt at both. And I felt like I had let my family down. I had let down the minorities that I, tried to inspire. I let down my soldiers by failing in something that they didn't care about. And I found myself just in a slump. And it took my wife to remind me. It was like, hey, like, you can't control what that selection looks like. You don't even know what goes into it. And then about 3 weeks later, I got a call and an email from Big, where I was selected for the Blacks in Government award winner for the Army. And my wife, when she heard it, she smiled and smirked and said, so your hard work always will get noticed whenever you're doing the right thing. And then that happened. And then as I capped off at Georgetown, I was selected as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award winner for our year at Georgetown University. And those two kind of blessings, I'll call, reminded me that, our failures, they're going to happen. You can't control at certain times, whether you'll be picked for a promotion board or selection board and all the other good stuff. Just continue to be a leader of character, a leader that cares about, the person to their left and to their right. Continue to lead and follow with faith. And I promise you, it will work in your favor. And I felt like that was the test that God was trying to show me. He was like, you found yourself on a little bit of high. Everything was working, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, everything's great. Let me remind you a little bit, of the failure, and it was a humbling experience for me, is that, you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. You can't win them all.
That is okay. The fact that I was nominated should have been a win in itself, right?
That's right.
And that's where we got to appreciate those types of things that come along and just remind you, just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's where you got to continue to aim, right? Because if I would have just set my sights on that's all I wanted, and then didn't get it, and then didn't even realize the other things that were coming with Big and in the DEI and things like that, I would have missed out on so many other opportunities for growth and to continue to inspire people. So I used, those aspects in my life, not as a means of failure anymore, but it was just an opportunity for me to get back into the fight, into the saddle, and continue to get back to work.
You can't win them all. You can't win them all. I wanted to repeat that. It's like an
Alabama mentality. To win every championship.
Well,
you let Georgia get a little play.
Only Georgia can do that. Only Georgia can do that. I really wanted to just kind of repeat that on a couple of occasions. Just, you can't win them all. You can't win them all, because we're out here talking about aiming high and going out there and accomplishing everything and just conquering the world. And that's what we want to do. We want to motivate people. We want to hype people up to be able to go out there and reach for the stars, reach for the moon, all that good stuff. But there's going to be a time when it may not work out the way you want it to. It may be a closed door, just so you can walk into the one that you're actually supposed to walk into. You cannot win them all, and that's okay. And as most of the time they are, your spouse is 100% right. Most of the time they'll just go, And they won't even say nothing else, and that just reminds me of another one of my favorite quotes, Abraham Lincoln: don't worry if you're not recognized, just strive to be worthy of recognition, because your time will come when your time comes. And we mentioned before, we talked about being multi-layered. We talked about being multifaceted. As I look at your resume, so to speak, your success resume, not the failure resume, your success resume, you're into youth sports. You do aviation outreach, where you go out and you talk about aviation programs to HBCUs, and recently extending that to PWIs as well. You've been involved with a program called Give a Gift with Me. I think it essentially provides sheets and blankets, toiletries, and things like that for the homeless. This is one of those things where, you hear all the things that someone's doing, not just for themselves, but for other people too, and it's huge. You're Omar Bradley Fellow, which I'm smarter on now. You have a goal to earn a PhD in leadership, and all I hear is that you just continuing to try to achieve and accomplish as much as you can with this short period of time that we have on this earth. And people are seeing this and they're hearing this, and it's not a flex. And people oftentimes, as you mentioned before, just because I think you said they're cheering for you doesn't mean they want to see you succeed. Mm-hmm. Some people will take that and go, "Oh, he's out there bragging about himself." But those aren't the people you're trying to target. We are here today to target those people who, again, as we said before, you cannot be what you cannot see. We are trying to highlight someone like yourself so that people can see it, so they can actually strive and desire to be it. And that's what I really love about your story, that you're out here kind of celebrating your wins, sharing your failures, and letting everybody know that it can be done as long as you aim high. So with that, I want to ask you, provide you an opportunity. What type of last advice do you want to provide for the viewers, the listeners out there who are just trying to reach their full potential, having a slow time getting started, feeling like they're a subject of a failure to launch, things like that? What do you want to offer to the people?
For one, and you're going to bear with me here, is be a leader of character and be an agent of change. The status quo can be overcome. There's always a need for driving change. And all you have to do is take a small step forward each and every day. And it takes a village. The person that you see here today, you see one person, but I assure you there's probably 100 people sitting in this seat that have all poured into me at some level, that have shaped me to be the leader that I am today. I'm being shaped by having this conversation with you right now. But to see it through, when you're up against a trouble meter squarely face to face, lift your chin, set your shoulders, plant your feet, and take a brace. When it's vain to try to dodge it, do the best that you can do. You may fail, but you may conquer, see it through. Black may be the clouds about you and your future may seem grim, but don't let your nerves desert you. Keep yourself in fighting trim. If the worst is bound to happen despite all that you can do, running from it will not save you, see it through. Even hope may seem a few times when the troubles you're beset, but remember you're facing just what other men have met. You may fail, but fall still fighting. Don't give up. Whatever you do, eyes front, head high, to the finish, see it through. That poem is something that I tell myself every day, is to see it through. If I am not failing along the way, I am not trying hard enough. I am not dreaming big enough. And my input is probably not matching my output. Every day you should be pushing yourself to go a little bit further, a little bit harder. And if you fail, get back up and continue to go forward each and every day. And along that path, along your journey, just pull the next man or woman with you. They used to say, if you want to go, fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with someone. And that is the mentality that we have to take, is as minority leaders, as junior leaders, to continue to drive, cultural change, we got to do it amongst each other. It will be hard to do it by yourself. So I would always encourage everybody to just see it through. Remember that poem. For me, it's a powerful poem that I just try to see it through. Being a leader of character, as we enter into interesting times, as we enter into a new year, as you enter into a new job, regardless on wherever you go, be a leader of character, values, morals, and beliefs. Doesn't matter how successful you are. If you lack character, I can't follow you. I won't expect my kids to follow you, regardless of how successful you are. I could care less about all this stuff on the wall and all the degrees and accolades. If I was not a leader of character, it wouldn't matter. I wouldn't be able to continue to inspire the youth. You hit on something about, a lot of people will consider the flex and look at, the social media posts and is it self-serving? Is it self-soothing? Or what is the why behind it? The ability to inspire the generations behind me or to motivate them outweighs the perceptions of other people. If that's what if that makes you feel good or whatever however you paint me, you think it's so, okay. Very well. You are entitled to your opinion. But the one person that this platform can reach outweighs the hundreds of people that would say, oh, he's just doing that for, his resume, or he's just doing that to get to the next job. Okay. At the end of the day, I have to show up and perform. And I would tell you, a true leader would care more about that than anything else. Is being, again, a leader of performance and a leader of character. And then being community focused. You mentioned Give a Gift with Me. That's something we do every year, sir. It was actually started by my wife. She collects, gently used clothing and house items, toiletry items. And every year we go out and we pass it out during the November kind of Christmas time frame. I took that and they always say that the best form of flattery is just imitating. And I took that idea and I actually incorporated it into my command, where we would, get meals. We'd go out there and work with Costco and Sam's, and they would give us chickens and we would cook sides. And it was for soldiers to say, sir, that was the most rewarding thing I had done all year, was to package up those meals and to go give it to homeless people. And I always take my children, because it's a reminder to them that we are one mistake away from being exactly where they are.
That's right.
So as my dad would say, never get so high that you can't reach down and pull the next man up, and never get so low that you can't reach up and get pulled up by the next man. So humility and dignity is a big part that I ask that everybody take away. And lastly, you mentioned the other day, you told me in the hallway, I won't go into the specifics, but you said to try and to dream big. For leaders that are out there, when you see mentors and you see senior leaders, whether they have 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, stop them and say, hey, stop them and just reach out to them. You'll be surprised with how many leaders that just want to pour into you with their mentorship and experiences and leadership. And I know my generation, we're struggling with that. We're struggling with reaching out to senior leaders because we're like, they're too busy. I assure you, just give them an opportunity to pour into you. But this platform for me, sir, has been therapeutic. I know we probably went over a little over time. I can talk a lot. But I had to seize this opportunity to be able to have this transparent dialogue with you. A new mentor. People won't even believe this is the second conversation that we have had. And it's like I've known you and I will continue to follow you. And I look forward to doing something special over the weekend, which is reading It Takes Heart, your book, which I just purchased, that I was able to kind of read the exact summary. And I highly encourage everybody out there to go out there and read that book and hear from somebody that has gone through the trenches and is currently, I would say, a little bit at the Mecca and at the pinnacle, and yet still going. So just continue to remember, sir, that your representation matters. As I continue to walk the halls each and every day, I'm reminded of how agents of change are throughout every office, and you are that agent of change in your office. And Colonel Carter, who I don't even know, agent of change and a leader, and just continue to be the representation that we seek. And I'm forever indebted to you, sir. And this has been an awesome podcast. And I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Thank you. This has been equally as therapeutic for me, and I need you to know that I learned a lot during this session. And as I play it back, probably several more times throughout the upcoming months, I'll continue to learn those tidbits of information and just nuggets of knowledge out there too. And the last thing I wanted to just kind of highlight one more time that I took away from what you just closed with was the fact that, those that have that perception of the flex, and what I heard you say was to you, the people that you could impact far outweighs the negative perceptions that may be existing out there. And that reminds me of, once again, another quote: to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. So I will encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And it's been very, very appreciated. And before I let you go,
yes, sir.
I end every step. You may or may not know, I end every episode with a quick game of what do you prefer. It's a fast round of 10 questions that I ask every guest. Are you ready?
Okay. Ready.
All right. Number one, you can strike off either Monday or Friday from your work week. What would you choose?
Monday.
Would you rather have $20,000 or 2 million Instagram followers?
Give me the 20,000.
20 grand. Number three, would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Darth Vader?
Come on, give me the Lion King. Darth Vader.
Number four, would you rather live in a tiny apartment in the city or a house in the middle of nowhere?
Middle of nowhere.
Number five, would you rather work a short shift of intense work or a long shift of relatively relaxed work for the same pay?
Give me the short.
Short. Number six, would you rather become a chess grandmaster or an elite kickboxer?
Kickboxer.
Number seven, which would you choose? Being the best at a terrible job or being the worst at your dream job?
Oh, the best. I'll go with the best at the worst job.
There we go. Number eight, which would you rather be? A great boss, but a terrible human being, or a bad boss, but a great human being?
I would rather be a bad boss but a great human being. Because I will say, I don't believe in bosses. I believe in leaders. Because a leader will get in that chair and help you row.
Very good. I like that answer. Number nine, would you rather play the main character in a bad movie or a supporting role in a good movie?
Supporting role.
Very nice. And last but not least, would you rather never listen to old music again or never listen to new music again?
Never listen to new music. Give me the old school, sir.
Thank you for playing along with What Do You Prefer? But more importantly, and on a serious note, this has been amazing for me. I hope it's equally or even more amazing and beneficial to the listeners and the viewers. I do appreciate your time. I respect your time. And I am glad you took some time out of your day to come on and really share your experience. Again, it has helped me, and I'm grateful for it.
All right. Appreciate it, sir. Look forward to the next time, and it'll be a good one.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in with us. Until next time on Sensation Nation, I'm out.